In the New York City area, February is cold, cloudy, often snowy. But every year, there is one day in February where the sun comes out and the temperature goes up to about 60. It's like a preview of spring. In 1977, that day came, and Ben and I just happened to be at my West 73rd Street Manhattan apartment. We were doing something with my 3 phone lines. I can tell you it wasn't freaking, it was preservation work of some sort. We were recording a lot of the long-distance network especially. I know there were crossbar tandems in Quebec City and Regina, Saskatchewan that were about to be replaced with this newfangled crossbar ESS hybrid called an SP1. Canada was going full into those things everywhere. And so we had our hands full, but this was February Spring Preview Day, so we decided to take a break and get out of the city. I knew there was an independent phone company less than 60 miles away from my apartment, along a route that tends not to be too much of a traffic nightmare, unless you're going out in the afternoon rush hour, which we weren't. This company, centered in Monroe, New York, was one that I had only stopped at briefly on some trip back with my parents where there hadn't been time to record, and I'd called into it, of course. One of its tributaries was Highland Mills.
This is a recording from Highland Mills, New York. The call cannot be completed as dialed.
It's actually called the Highland Telephone Company, but it's not centered in Highland Mills, it's centered in Monroe. On the way there's a rest stop on the New York State Thruway that has a Bell system, that is New York Telephone payphone. This is not our intended destination, but let's pick up this payphone and see what New York Telephone is using to serve this area. Okay, we're off hook. This is a single slot Bell system prepay coin phone. Sounds like it has a pretty hummy line. Let's put in a dime. Well, this is a very obvious Bell System 355 step, very common in rural areas. Strange to hear when I was just on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. The tone plant has a kind of a wow to it that's really there. It's not my tape. Every 6 seconds or so, if you were hearing that dial tone, it went every 6 seconds. There was a little, very quick reduction in pitch, and then it went back to normal. Anyway, I'm dialing my own number, and we'll get a busy signal, of course, and the pitch will be constant except that 1 out of every 6 tones will have that quick little pitch reduction in it. Here's the rest of the number. I hung up momentarily. The central office returned my coin. Now we're on the idle line again. This is the last tape that I can find that I made with my beloved Vivitar cassette recorder. It was a really good machine. Got it in the second half of 1971 and stopped using it after this phone trip. It just wore out. At this point, the tape recorder wasn't erasing fully, and also, sometimes motor noise was getting into the amplifier. So, unfortunately, you're going to be hearing that bleeding through on this rather brief set of recordings, which are of the Sloatsburg, New York 914753 exchange. Here's an intra-office call, and like most of the recordings that follow, you do hear partially erased talking underneath. For some strange reason, I felt like dialing 1191. That's actually an ancient code for ringback, but here's what it does here.
Directory, what city? Directory? Directory, what city? Be please.
Boy, it is not easy to tell what's going on there, even aside from the fact that my tape recorder motor noise got into the recording in a few places there. But I can tell you this much, just dialing 1 and then waiting is enough to get directory assistance from here.
Directory, what city? Directory, what city? Directory.
Directory assistance charging happened in late 1974, and that meant that the number for directory assistance had to be changed from 411 to 1 plus 555 1212. Maybe they've got an arrangement where you dial 1 and then it just waits for you to finish dialing before giving you the directory assistance operator, so that from the coin phone you can dial 1 plus 555 1212 and get free directory assistance, there's no charge from a coin phone, by dialing the current number. That might be what this is. There's no 1 plus dialing other than for local directory assistance, because as you'll see in a minute, this area has an old chord board.
Good afternoon, your code, please.
Yes, could you get me area code, information for Los Angeles?
Surely. What city?
Los Angeles.
Yes?
You have a number for, ZZZ, 6 Z's?
The Los Angeles operator seems to have just gone silent. I'm going to try flashing my operator here.
There's nothing under that.
Thank you.
I was trying to flash the operator, now I've hung up. She pulled the call down. Now I've hung up longer. Finally. By the way, my local operator was in Nyack, and she put the call out over the Nyack crossbar tandem, 9146. Wow, now there was a first selector that had a lot of hum on it, so I abandoned that one. Now the next thing I'm going to dial is 36, and this goes into a number 5 crossbar, 346. You don't have to dial the 4. Sorry about the recordings of the answering service. This is a number 5 crossbar with one of the oldest ring types. It's called Old Crossbar 5 ring or Old Crossbar ring. My parents' exchange, Lynbrook 3, originally had this ring. Around 1968 it changed to City Ring, but they kept the old busy signal. That number I called was actually on intercept. If you listen to the very beginning, you can hear that the real ring trips. There's a very... well, I'll play it for you. Hold on. There, you see, that's the real ring tripping, and then the ring tone is on an intercept trunk where the operator never answers because it's a broken intercept trunk. Now, this code 346 had me puzzled when I first looked at this tape, because it is listed as being in Sloatsburg. Well, the office we're calling from actually has the letters SL. We're calling from SL3753. But 346 has no letters, yet with this ring, it's obviously a very old office. So what's going on here? Well, if you've got SL3 in one-step CDO, and then you have this other crossbar 5 code that is new, no letters, but it's in the same zone, that clearly points to the possibility that this crossbar 5 is in some other town, and for some reason, it is serving some customer or customers in the Sloatsburg area. So this is really a number 5 crossbar in a nearby town that has its own other exchanges in a different zone, but decades after that office was created, probably in the early 70s, they created 346 to bring in here for some reason. Maybe this little SL3 step office is getting overwhelmed, and so they adjust the CO boundary a bit to have this neighboring crossbar 5 take over part of the territory, and since Sloatsburg is its own zone, they create a distinct code, 346. Now, while I was here in Sloatsburg, I only found one working 346 POTS number, but I also found this. You'd have to know the network really well to know what this is. It's a number 101 ESS, which is used exclusively for Centrex. That's a pulse amplitude modulation PBX that is typically homed on a number 5 crossbar. They like to use number 5 crossbar to interface it to the rest of the world. And you can tell because whenever a number 5 crossbar goes into one of these, it doesn't have to dial pulse or touchtone or MF. You dial the last digit and all of a sudden, as if by magic, it goes, and it's ringing. They actually have a data link in the number 5 crossbar office that is able to get the number you want all at once through signals sent over multiple leads, and so it rings almost immediately. That Centrex customer may also have been an impetus for creating the 346 code. Now here's another 346 call that starts out with a broken intercept trunk again, and notice the quality of the ringtone that is on the intercept trunk. This is just the ring supply attenuated, but it's not going down an actual phone line. This ringtone is kind of toneless, which is why by the early 80s they had to change it, because the service observing equipment couldn't register it. In a few seconds, I'm going to reset the trunk and redial a working number, and you'll hear this same ring supply going down a long phone line. It's as if that ringtone doesn't really have a pitch, it just seems to get one from its environment. This or that. Tuxedo is a small New York telephone step that's local from here. Here's the vacant level. The trunks from here to there are N3 family.
I'm sorry. The number you have reached is not in service at this time. If you need assistance, please hang up and dial your operator. This is a recording. 914-351. I'm sorry.
In 1975, we began to see the Bell system changing the ringtones on many of their electromechanical offices. Many, if not all of these, were the result of some sort of a retrofit program involving equipment from the Lorraine Company. The two main rural rings, CDO ring and new CDO ring, started being replaced with one of two new tones that sounded, frankly, rather much like an independent ring. Tuxedo is an example of an office that has been retrofitted to one of the two new strange rings. If I'd flashed longer in the first place, I could have gotten away without losing my dime, because a 355 step does have supervision grace, but I was unsuccessful, so I lost my dime that time. Finally, here's a call to the 346 Crossbar 5, the one that's officially in Sloatsburg, but is really served by a neighboring office, where the intercept trunk did work properly.
What number are you calling, please? What number are you calling?
346-0222.
3460220
Yes.
is an incorrect number.
Thank you.
What number are you calling?
And there you have the old Crossbar reorder tone, just like Lynbrook 3, although Lynbrook 3 had kind of a shorter tone, but same type. I got that by choinking, that is resetting the trunk, and then dialing a number that included a digit of 11 pulses that dropped a trouble card and gave me a reorder. Interestingly, on that last call, we heard City ring on the operator.
What number are you calling?
But Directory Assistance here has Crossbar ring.
Directory.
That says that in this area, Directory Assistance and Intercept are not served by the same operators. That's unusual because traditionally, centralized intercept and directory assistance were handled by the same operators in the same place. I know that the NIAC building has crossbar ring, so maybe directory assistance is there, or it might be that intercept goes one place and directory assistance goes to another. There's just not enough information for me to say. Well, I feel like I've almost made too much of this rather incidental stop along the way, what with all my color commentary, and it's still a pretty drab telephone environment. But next we're going to get to the intended destination, the Highland Telephone Company.